But Reggie Bush, who won the Heisman Trophy for USC in 2005, and wow, talk about a phenomenal college running back, Rob. He was just incredible. And in 2005, ran for 1,740 yards. Rob, he averaged 8.7 yards per carry. It's like every time you gave it to him, it was basically a first down. I mean, that's incredible. He won the Heisman. He got some goodies from the boosters and from supporters of USC. And didn't his parents get a home? They get a home? Yeah. And so in 2010, the NCAA took his Heisman, removed him from – he became the only person.
Was it the NCAA or Chris or the Heisman Committee who took it? It was the Heisman people.
Heisman Committee, my bad. Yep. Yeah, Heisman Trust. Took his Heisman from him, the only player that had his Heisman taken. And today, Rob, 14 years later, they reinstated him as a Heisman Trophy winner. Of course, I'm sure I speak for both of us. It was not like we stopped thinking of him as a Heisman Trophy winner.
That's why taking stuff away and to all that, it's hard to unsee it, Chris. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even if something went down, I've always said that you can't unsee it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like it happened.
It's what's good about it. I mean, it's just great in general, but he does get robbed. You know, even though I'm sure everyone still thought of him as a Heisman Trophy winner, you know, he wasn't able to officially participate in all the things that Heisman Trophy winners get to. And so now he will get those opportunities again. So that's good for him. He obviously has, you know, made had a solid NFL career, not what he was expected to be. Wasn't a superstar, but he had a solid NFL career. And then now has gone on to, you know, become a reputable broadcaster and analyst, Rob. So he's doing fine.
Doesn't change the facts, though. This still doesn't change what took place, you know, and you could question whether or not they ever should have done it. But at the time where the rules were in place, nothing really changes. I mean, the Heisman didn't say, oh, he didn't do it, he was exonerated. It's just that they decided to give it back. I don't know if this has
now what he did is like not against the rules anymore. Players can get, you know, NIL,
but at the time when he was there, I hear what you're saying. It's just like, right. Chris, we used to drive around. It would be like, you know what it would be like? It would be like when we were kids, and I talk about this all the time, being in my dad's Eldorado, Chris, drop top, you know, with the kids and the neighborhood kids, 6 of us in the back seat, bouncing around.
Seat?
Yeah,
man, we'd be in the front seat.
We'd be in the
because
with no seat
belts, big seats, right?
Right, they were like
so
a
you
couch.
Had no middle, right.
It was like a couch.
I'd be bouncing around in the front seat.
We'd be bouncing around.
Yeah, we didn't.
That would be like now giving people tickets saying we know that you weren't wearing a seatbelt. You know what I mean? Like we weren't wearing a seatbelt, but it wasn't a law back then. But anyway, Chris, I'm gonna go off on a little bit of a side note here, okay? And as this Reggie Bush getting his Heisman Trophy back, as a backdrop, I'm calling out all former athletes who have podcasts and platforms, Chris, in these United States. Hello? Is this on? This is for you. We want receipts. You talk about it all the time that you got, where? I got receipts. We want receipts. Since Reggie Bush got his Heisman back, Chris, obviously schools aren't going to punish people. Right. Hall of Fames aren't going to punish people, right? All that's out the window now. So you know what I want? I want all these big mouth athletes who know more than they've ever let out on these podcasts to speak up and come cleanse yourself. I want you to come clean finally. Yes, Gilbert Arenas, I'm talking to you. Yes, Draymond Green, I'm talking to you. Yes, JJ Redick, I'm talking to you. I want you to finally be in the truth business. Wow. Stop wasting the airtime.
Wow.
All right, just to hear yourself talk.
Wow.
You know what people want to hear from you? They want you to give them the real goods. Blow the lid off of this. You know what we want? Names and figures, Chris. Who gave you money? How much did they give you? How did they give it to you? How did you move around in college? Tell us how it was all done, because we know it's out there, Chris. And these guys have held this in forever. Who's got the guts? Who's got the cojones? Who's got the gumption to finally stand up and pull the curtain back? Those coaches that paid you and those other people, Chris, they're already in the Hall of Fame. What are they going to do? Take them out? Come clean. I want to hear all of it. They did the Fab Five dirty. Chris Webber, all those guys. They got caught, Chris. Tell us, who gave you the money? How much was it? Was the university in on it? Was the president? How did they deliver the cash? That's what I want to hear from these guys right now. I don't want to hear anything else. Don't celebrate Reggie Bush. Come clean. Stop it. Let us know what has gone on in sports, college sports, Chris, for a long time. And it doesn't look like there'll be any retribution against you. Here's the time to cleanse yourself.
No, I think that's a great take. I agree. But I mean, look, and the athletes were wrong for taking, the money. It was illegal at that time. But Rob, if you're calling out the athletes and not just the ones with the platforms, any athlete, any big time athlete, former athlete can get on a mic. If he wants to say something, he don't have to have a podcast. He can go on somebody's podcast and say it. But Rob, I have always felt, while yes, the players broke rules and took money, that the players always got the raw end of the deal. Because whenever somebody was caught, it was these college players, these teenagers in many cases, many of whom were from incredibly impoverished backgrounds. And I'm not justifying it, but I'm saying the adults, the corporate businessmen, the wealthy boosters of these teams, these college teams, these programs, these distinguished alumni, they got off scot-free. Everybody jumped on the 18-year-old from the hood who was, struggling financially because he took money and his mom took money. But the wealthy businessman who was respected in the city, if not the state and the country, he got off scot-free. So why don't they come clean too? Now the athletes, they can name names.
To do that, Chris. Right. This is my point.
They can name. Yeah, they can name those names. Look, like you said, there's not going to be any retribution. I mean, presumably, right? So I'm not so much into, if they want to name names and everything, that's fine. But Rob, and I know you and I feel differently about the Players Podcast. I like their podcast. Now, I know they're not hard-hitting journalists, but their stories are great. The fact that they act like themselves where they might not in most cases with journalists is great. You really get to know these guys for who they are. And if they just tell the stories, man, when I was at such and such a place, I got $100,000 each year I was there. They took me there, man, my recruiting trip, they did this, they did that. I was like, well, hold on, I can't take this, right? Well, and so, the Hall of Fame coach told me, look, man, everybody, whatever it is. I want to hear the stories, Rob, because the stories would be great. And you've been around athletes enough, and I have too, where they joke about it. I went here because they was giving me more money, and laugh about it and stuff like that. But now, like you said, they can tell the truth. And that's entertaining. And that is what we want from the athletes, right? We want the things from the athletes that no one else can give you.
That's why I'm calling on them,
I can
Chris.
give you an analysis, right? Somebody else can give you analysis. We can't tell you what it was like to actually be a big-time athlete.
Nope. And the behind-the-scenes story. Here's the other thing, too, Chris, and this is where I fault players all the time. You talk about it all the time about the players are left holding the bag. A lot of times they won't snitch, whatever you want to call it, on the coaches, Chris, the Rick Pitino with the prostitutes and all that.
Right.
Like they just took the fall for all that.
Right.
When me and you both know, I mean, just logically, ain't no way prostitutes were in the dorm and Rick Pitino didn't know about it. I don't care what, you couldn't tell me anything.
Where was
Chris.
this assistant getting the money from?
He's a grad assistant, Chris, making peanuts, paying for prostitutes. Who would believe that story?
And if your coach found that out, and he didn't know anything about it and you got in trouble,
shame on him.
He's firing you. Or you would at least fear that he might fire you. So come on, you're absolutely right.